I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. We have repositioned. We are now at the intersection of St. Paul and Doyle, almost directly across from the old Kelowna Courier building. From this angle, from this vantage point, you can see the top of the crane where it collapsed and where it made contact with this building. It looks like it made contact with the far corner. Hard to say how much damage is. This is our line. You can see the police tape is right here. Individuals, there's an RCMP officer right here who is directing traffic. But you can see also from this vantage point how bent the part that of the crane that is still attached to the building is. There is some concern about whether or not that is safe. They have been checking it. We've seen, and earlier in our live broadcasting, our live reporting, we showed you individuals at the top of that crane who appear to be out on the balconies making sure that that structure is still safe. We can also update you on the BC Emergency Health Services has reported that 2 people have been transported from the scene to hospital, KGH. One is in critical condition, the other is in stable condition with what are believed to be minor injuries. There were 12 ground ambulances on the scene. We can also tell you that Kelowna Fire Department is here as well in full force. West Kelowna has also contributed. We've got the high angle rescue team is here. The rescue crews were in the building going floor to floor. You can still see workers who are working on this site leaving the area. The area has been cordoned off. They have now compacted the area to run from Doyle Street to Bertram, but that extends all the way to Richter as well. Power was cut off earlier today, but appears to be back on for the most part now. This is an evolving story, and we will do our best to keep you apprised of the information as soon as we get it. We can tell you we had multiple eyewitness reports of individuals who were on the crane, seen on the crane, reportedly at the time of the collapse. We don't know if those stories are true, but we do have one dramatic video that is on our site where you can see one of the individuals is actually on the crane and he is trying to get himself to safety. Dramatic video, obviously a very dramatic scene. You can see that that crumpled top portion of the crane there lies in pieces right here by this building in downtown Kelowna. That is at the corner of Bertram and Bernard Street right there. A very good angle of the crane right now. It shows you just how crumpled it is and how close it came to impacting the other building. It looks to be a deck on the back of that building which was impacted. This angle also shows the bend in that crane, especially near the top, how it's connected to one of the balconies. Closer to the top of the structure, there were individuals out on those balconies who appeared to be taking pictures. There are also individuals, you can see the police right in front of me here. They are taking pictures of that crane right now. They are working on that. They are taking pictures of the scene as if it was a crime scene. We are told that one individual has been taken to a hospital with critical injuries and another person has minor injuries. Again, this is a developing and evolving story. We'll bring you the latest information as soon as we have it. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of a downtown building crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. Again, I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of a crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. The crane is at the intersection of Bertram and Bernard. This angle quite clearly shows the top of the crane in ruins, collapsed on the ground. You can see it running through the back of this alley. The police of this area cordoned off. We can tell you that BC Emergency Health Services reports that 2 people have been transported to hospital, including one in critical condition. The other is in stable condition with minor injuries. There were 12 ambulances on the scene, and there may be more injuries to be yet to come. Crews are still working to secure the building and make sure that everyone is indeed out of the building. Earlier today, we were reporting live from Bertram and Bernard Street, and you could see the fire crews and rescue crews entering the building with stretchers and their rescue apparatus. They were also visible on the upper floor balconies. Apparently, they were looking at the crane. From this angle, you can see how it's bent and how it's still connected to the top of the building. Some concern about the structural integrity of the remaining crane, which is one of the reasons why the downtown area was evacuated. The area is evacuated and closed off, cordoned off from Doyle or St. Paul Street all the way to Richter on Bertram is closed from Doyle and St. Paul to Richter Street. Again, Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of this crane collapse here in downtown Kelowna. Obviously, an evolving situation. We have heard from BC Health Services. They've indicated that one person has been taken to hospital with serious injuries. Another person has been taken to hospital with minor injuries, but there still may be more people in this building. Workers and crews are still working to determine if anyone is still trapped inside the rubble. This angle clearly shows what remains of the top portion of that crane as it is draped over the bottom portion of that building, the parking garage, and seems to have avoided most other buildings with the exception of the corner of the one building. You can see that it made contact in that area, and then it is just laid on the ground, crumpled. This is an evolving, ongoing, developing story which we will continue to cover and bring you the latest developments as soon as we have them. Rob Gibson reporting live. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse here in downtown Kelowna. You can see behind me the top of this crane now looks like a piece of spaghetti as it rolls down the alley here coming towards Doyle. We're almost opposite the old Kelowna Courier building, which is now boarded up. The area between St. Paul and Richter Street is cordoned off on Bertram. You can see that the RCMP officers are on scene. They're taking photographs. They're itemizing this scene as if it were a crime scene. 2 people are reportedly injured. One of them is reportedly in serious condition. The other suffered minor injuries. The rescue crews are still in the building. There may be more people to come out. There were multiple BC ambulances, 12 of them, a dozen here at the beginning of the day. They remain stationed, ready for anything else that comes out. You can see the crane that remains attached to the building is at a precarious angle, and some of the supports seem to be compromised. Probably part of the concern as to why the area has been evacuated. The rest of the top portion of the crane, you can see how it fell, the way it collapsed, the way it made contact with the balcony of the adjacent building. No word on whether anyone was on that building. So far, what we know is that 2 individuals have been taken to hospital. There may be more injuries still to come. Ambulances are still rallied on Bertram Street. Rescue crews are rallied on Bertram Street. You can see that they have the areas are still cordoned off. RCMP continue to come and to go. This is obviously an evolving and developing story. We'll keep you updated with the latest information as soon as it becomes available. We can tell you that BC Health Services have indicated that 2 individuals have been taken to hospital. One is listed in critical condition. The other has reportedly had minor injuries. One video that you can see on the Castanet website shows an individual trying to make his way off of the crane as it was collapsing. You can see that individual shimmying by. Dramatic and very visceral video. We had multiple eyewitness accounts, people who heard it rather than saw the collapse. They described a sound of screeching metal and then a loud collapse as it collapsed just before noon, around 11 a.m. this morning. Various individuals who were working along Bernard Street heard and or saw the sound. We saw multiple people who work at this site who were walking around. Some of them seemed to be in a daze. Many of them either would not comment or could not comment, were asked not to speak to the media or to reveal what else was going on, and they have now left for the day. But as you can see from this vantage point, the crane, what's left of it is hanging precariously, still attached to the building. The rest of it looks like a piece of spaghetti draped over the parking garage of this building, which looks like it's near completion. We have differing reports as to how it happened. One eyewitness indicated they saw the crane was hanging a large piece of concrete for almost a half an hour before the collapse. It's not clear what caused this situation. We do know that it's an ongoing and developing scenario, and that the West Kelowna High Angle Rescue Squad is here in case their expertise is necessary. 2 individuals were injured, one of them serious, the other one with minor injuries. We'll keep giving you the latest developments as soon as we have them. Rob Gibson reporting live from the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse here in downtown Kelowna. Thanks very much to the lovely lady who just brought us all some water. Obviously very hot, very difficult working conditions right now. We do have reports from the BC Health Services that there are 2 individuals who are confirmed injured, one with serious injuries, the other person has minor injuries. They are still working to go through the situation and find out if there may be more individuals trapped inside. They are still working on that. Police have still got the area cordoned off. You can see there's very little activity from what you can see from our vantage point, but what you can see is the crane that remains attached to the building appears to be at an angle, and it looks like some of the attachments look like they are moved or perhaps compromised, and the rest of the top portion of the crane, you can see it hanging like a piece of spaghetti from the top part of the garage portion of the complex and down where it made contact with the patio of an adjacent building. No indication as to whether anyone was on that patio at the time of the collapse. We did multiple reports of individuals who described the loud screeching metal on metal sound for minutes before they heard the loud bang, which is presumably the top part of the crane collapsing. It looks like it's just fortunate at this point that it could have been much worse. It didn't hit another building directly. It made contact with the one portion of the building, but nobody really knows for certain whether anyone is still inside the building or whether there are more injuries to be reported. This is obviously a developing story. We'll continue to cover it and bring you the latest information as soon as we have more information. Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of a crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. We can tell you that the power has now been restored to the downtown area. Business and residences near the crane, however, remain evacuated. It's not clear at this time how long those evacuations will remain. But we can tell you that the crane was damaged at a Glenmore fire. Back in the Glenmore fire, it took days for them to determine and to release the scene. We've already seen RCMP RCMP officers here on scene taking photographs as if it were a crime scene. We can tell you that BC Emergency Services has told us the 2 individuals are injured. One of them suffered serious injuries, the other listed as minor injuries, but you can also see how serious and how close that crane came to contacting another building. It made contact with the patio. Obviously, this situation could have been much worse. We are hearing unconfirmed reports that they were taking the crane down, that they're that close to being finished, the construction here. And so this is an ongoing and developing situation. This angle really shows how the top of the crane fell. It looks like a piece of spaghetti. The other top portion that remains attached to the building is looking precarious. It's obviously bent at an angle, and there's obviously some concern as to its stability. This is an ongoing and developing story, and we're covering it live. I'm Rob Gibson, reporting live from the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. I'm Rob Gibson, reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. I'm now joined by a fellow who lives in the building with the collapsed. You live in this building, sir? Could you join me out here in front of the camera, please?
Yeah, in the morning.
So you just came up on me and we were chatting behind the scenes. You say you live in this building that it looks like the crane contacted your building. Is that correct?
It did, yes. I see this. The whole corner there is damaged, and we were living on the north side. And in the morning, we were out and at the patio, and we saw some guys climbing up the crane. Mm-hmm. And I said to my wife, maybe they dismantled it today.
Right.
So I don't know what happened.
And you went out for a coffee, and you just came back now.
And just wanted to go in my flat, and I see I cannot get in.
Right.
So.
So do you know if you have power in your building at this point?
I have no idea.
Right.
I have no idea.
And have the police said anything to you about when you can go back?
Pardon me?
Have the police said anything to you?
No, we don't know yet. I learned there's closed for the day. Maybe we have to find some shelter in the night.
Yeah.
I have no idea yet.
One of the things we're talking about right now is the Glenmore fire. When that happened and the crane was suspected to be compromised, they evacuated that area for multiple days while they did their inspections. Could be a similar scenario here, but we don't know.
We don't know, no. We will see what happens, and we wait until this thing is kind of open for us. Anyway.
Did you say to me that you were on that deck this morning?
I was on the deck in the morning, yes, and we watch always. We see this thing here, and we watch it, and we look if somebody is climbing up the ladder. You know, we call it kind of the men.
Right.
And sure, it was strange. I didn't expect this happening today.
You're very lucky you weren't on the deck when the crane collapsed.
Yeah, we were not there.
Yeah.
I was at the coffee.
Yeah.
I always go out for coffee.
You're very lucky, and you picked the right day to go for coffee. What was your name, sir?
Jürgen.
Jürgen.
Thank
you.
Living here.
Thank you for chatting with me. I really appreciate it. Obviously, you can see the devastation that left by the crane collapse. We're hearing multiple reports that they may have been getting ready to dismantle that crane. We heard one indication this morning that a large piece of cement was hanging from the end of the crane for about a half an hour. This individual just indicated that he was on that deck this morning before this crash. He just came back from having coffee, and this is the scene. He was trying to get into his building. He lives in the building that's deck was impacted, and he can't get in there. They have been evacuated, and he's not sure how long he's going to be out of there. But from this vantage point, you can see the top portion of the crane strewn like a piece of spaghetti down from the top part of the garage complex down into the alleyway. You can see where it made contact with the deck on the other side. 2 individuals are reportedly injured. They are still searching for more. You can see one firefighter right now. He's just below the first support for the crane attachment. They are going floor to floor. They are trying to determine if anyone else is in there. They are also trying to determine if the remaining crane that is still attached to the building is stable or if it has been damaged. Again, we don't know structurally what caused this. We do know that 2 individuals have been injured, but we also can tell you the power has now been restored to the downtown area, and they are beginning to turn back the power on. Some areas remain evacuated, and we don't know how much longer. Thank you for chatting with me, and good luck down the road. Again, it's Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse here in downtown Kelowna. We are virtually across the street from the old Courier building. Right down the alleyway, you can see the crane, the top portion of the crane, strewn like a piece of spaghetti down the alley. It made contact with the deck of that building. That building has now been evacuated, and the residents are not being allowed back in. Police have got this area cordoned off. You can see that Bernard is closed all the way from St. Paul to Richter Street as well. This is an evolving situation. We're doing our best to keep you updated. We can tell you that 2 individuals are confirmed to be injured, one seriously, the other has minor injuries. We'll continue to cover this story and bring you the latest developments as soon as we have them. Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. We can see firefighters inside the building. They appear to be working just below the first attachment for the crane, which is still attached to the building. You can see that it is bent at a precarious angle and it does not look stable. Kelowna's Mayor Colin Basran has issued a formal statement saying we're all very shocked and saddened by this crane collapse today. Basran stated at the start of Monday's council meeting, we don't know all the details about what's happened and who is affected, but we know some workers were injured and we want to join with our entire community in sending best wishes to them and their families. The Kelowna RCMP and the Kelowna Fire Department are working on making the accident site safe so that the evacuated can go back home as soon as possible. We have been assured that information about this accident will be coming when the facts are known. Until then, our thoughts are with the workers on that job site and their families. That again is Kelowna Mayor Colin Basran at the beginning of today's Monday's council meeting. We can also tell you that power has now been restored to the downtown area. Businesses and residences near the crane, however, remain evacuated. I just spoke with one individual who lives in the building which the top of the crane contacted as it collapsed and damaged that portion of the patio. He said he was on that patio this morning before he left to go for coffee, as he usually does. He just came back from riding his bicycle and having a coffee, and this is the scene. He tried to get into his building and he was told that he could not, and officers could not tell him when he would be allowed back in. You can see RCMP on the scene taking pictures. There's an officer down there right now who's taking a picture of the collapsed portion of the building. We can also tell you that BC Emergency Health Services reports 2 people have been transported to hospital, including one in critical condition, the others in stable condition with minor injuries. There were 12 ground ambulances on the scene, including 2 critical care teams. There could be more patients. We are still working to determine if anyone remains trapped in the building. There is a dramatic video on Castanet right now of an individual who had to shimmy his way to safety on the crane. We received multiple reports after this first happened that people saw people on the crane when it was collapsing. Those reports, however, are unconfirmed, but that does jive with the video we see where the one person is seen kind of scrambling for safety. Dramatic video, dramatic events on a dramatic day. Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. You can see behind me that there is actually a drone. If you look closely enough, you can see that there is a drone. I'm told that WorkSafe BC is on the scene. Multiple structural engineers. They're flying the drone to determine how severe the damage is, whether or not there is further damage to the portion of the crane that remains attached to the building. You can see it's bent at a precarious angle, and the top supports of the crane that remains attached look like they are not right. Whether or not that's the correct formation or not. And then the very top of the crane, you can see where it snapped off, and the rest of it is strewn down like a piece of, like a noodle, where it made contact with another building. One individual told me he was on that patio earlier this morning, and he's just thanking his lucky stars that he wasn't there at the time of the crane collapse. Now the drone will be flying around so that they can get a better eye view of what exactly is going on. You can see the RCMP photographer is also further down. They are looking to see whether or not they're taking photos, whether or not this is a crime scene. We have been told that one individual was taken to hospital with serious injuries, another person with minor injuries. We have been hearing eyewitness and second-hand accounts of individuals who may have been on the crane at the time of the collapse. One individual in the video you can see on Castanet can be seen shimmying his way to safety off of that crane. A dramatic video on a dramatic day. I'm talking to several RCMP officers who are on the scene, making sure that this area remains blocked off. And they pointed out that this could have been much worse had it fallen in another way. There's a law office that was impacted, and that building is, I'm told, a mess. You can see the edge of the deck. The patio remains smashed and torn and strewn where the top of the crane made contact with it. We don't know the extent of any further damage at this point, but we can tell you that the Central Okanagan Regional District says residents near the downtown crane collapse who've been evacuated can go to the Salvation Army at 1480 Sutherland Avenue for emergency support services. Separately, families of those injured or missing should go to the Parkinson Recreation Center. That's the Macintosh Room at 1700 Parkinson Way. Cord said on their Twitter site. Residents who live nearby say there were several people working on the crane this morning prior to its collapse. It's believed the crane was in the process of being dismantled. BC Emergency Health Services now says 3 patients have been taken to hospital, with 1 in critical condition, another seriously hurt, and the third with minor injuries. The status of any fatalities remains unconfirmed, but we can tell you that the RCMP are on scene. We believe the coroner is here as well, and they are treating the scene as an active crime scene. RCMP have so far been unable to comment beyond urging the public to avoid the entire downtown. Earlier this afternoon, Mayor Colin Basran offered his best wishes on behalf of City Council to the families of those workers impacted by today's crane collapse. We don't know for sure what caused the incident. We do believe that the crane was in the process of being dismantled and taken down. This is a developing and ongoing story. We'll bring you the latest information as soon as we have it. You can see that the RCMP are making some moves in front of me at this point, and you can also see that there appear to be firefighters who are in the building. The drone continues to hover and make its way up the building, going from floor to floor, presumably trying to determine the safety of the crane. That drone is now flying away from the building. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. We can tell you that this is an evolving and developing situation. The area immediately surrounding the crane collapse has been evacuated. However, power has been restored. Many people are anxiously asking questions about when they can get into their buildings, whether they need to stay out of them, whether they'll be allowed to get any of their belongings that they may need for a day or two if they have to stand out. But we can also inform you that the Central Okanagan Regional District has said that residents near the downtown crane collapse who've been evacuated can go to the Salvation Army at 1480 Sutherland Avenue for emergency support services, and families of those who may be missing or feared injured can go to the Recreation Center, the Parkinson Rec Center, the Macintosh Room at 1700 Parkinson Way. Cord said that on their Twitter. Residents who live nearby say there were several people working on the crane this morning prior to its collapse. It's believed the crane was in the process of being dismantled. BC Emergency Health Services now says that there are 3 patients who have been taken to hospital, one in critical condition, another seriously hurt, and the third with minor injuries. The status of any fatalities remains unconfirmed. RCMP so far have been unable to comment beyond urging the public to avoid the entire downtown area for the time being. I have been told by RCMP officers here on the scene that there is some concern surrounding the remaining crane that is still attached to the building. There is concern that it may have been damaged and may be unstable. You can see the other portion of the crane, the top portion, where it came down and collapsed with the patio portion of the other building. There is a legal office right there that was also severely damaged. That is right next door to the building. We can tell you that I've seen a drone flying, going from floor to floor, flying over the damage to make sure to give rescue crews, presumably, and engineers a better idea of what is exactly going on and whether or not the remaining crane is structurally sound. This is an ongoing and developing story. We have been covering it for you only a few minutes after it happened. I'm Rob Gibson reporting live from the scene of the crane collapse in downtown Kelowna. We'll continue to cover this story. You can check in with Castanet for the latest developments.